Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on this beautiful day in America. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. As always, we truly, greatly appreciate it. So, the biggest political scam in history, it seems like it only keeps getting worse, and it doesn't seem like it is getting worse. New documents out today, record-breaking, massive documents shedding light on just how bad and just how deep the corruption ran for the Department of Justice and, quite frankly, the FBI's operation to get President Trump dating. It goes back far to 2016, 2015, but the most recent times during the 2020 election. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley today released documents revealing that Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland, former FBI Director Chris Wray, and corrupt DOJ official Lisa Monaco personally approved the opening of Arctic Frost. And that's the investigation into President Trump that we've been talking about almost every day here. Arctic Frost, of course, led to Jack Smith's 2020 alternate elector case, the scam, the sham, whatever you want to call it, going after President Trump. Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson earlier this year released new records that detailed the FBI and DOJ's sweeping investigation that framed the basis of Jack Smith's D.C. case against President Trump. Now, Grassley and Johnson also previously blew the lid off another sham investigation orchestrated by Biden's corrupt Department of Justice and compromised FBI. According to the documents that were released earlier this year, the FBI and DOJ weaponized their power to target President Trump, former VP Mike Pence, and their allies through a probe conducted that was called Arctic Frost. Arctic Frost, of course, was this taxpayer-funded witch hunt that was launched in April of 2022 that seized government-issued cell phones that belonged to President Trump and Pence while conducting a barrage of interviews across the country on, once again, the taxpayer dime. Now, it was recently reported that Joe Biden's FBI and later Jack Smith spied on 8 Republican senators during this Arctic Frost investigation. Those senators and congressmen, Mike Kelly, Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Lummis, and Marsha Blackburn. Now, this is in addition to the story we broke to you the other night about the FBI with the former senior NSA intel analyst Russ Tice, about the FBI seizing 30 million phone lines of innocent Americans like you and I. So the documents released today, and we're going to put them up here for you on the screen so you can follow along with us, because this is, absolutely crazy that we're now finding out that Merrick Garland, that Christopher Wray were both in on this whole entire sham. So these are the documents from Christopher Wray, in which he reached out to Merrick Garland to beg that he open this investigation into President Trump. And this is dated April 4th of 2022. The AG, and if you're following along with us on video, you might be able to read it. It's a little small, but we'll go through it with you if you're joining us on audio so you can follow along. So it's a memo from Christopher Wray through the Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General's office. The subject is approval to open certain sensitive investigation. The purpose? To obtain your signature authorizing the Washington field office to open full sensitive investigative matter. This request is based on the recommendation of the Deputy Director, the Executive Assistant Director, Criminal, Cyber Response and Service Branch, and the Assistant Director in charge. Your approval, this is from Wray, your approval is requested as soon as possible due to the nature of this SIM. The SIM is the sensitive investigative matter at issue, and pursuant to DOJ guidance. WFO may not open this full investigation without your authorization. So begging, coaxing, coercing Merrick Garland to open this investigation. The executive summary. Following the 2020 presidential election, vice presidential election, in an apparent effort to obstruct Congress's certification of the Electoral College, fraudulent certificate electors' votes were submitted to the Archivist of the United States, purporting to represent actual elector votes from the states of Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, and Wisconsin. Open source reporting and public statements made by individuals closely associated with Donald J. Trump, the Trump campaign, present articulable factual basis indicating that the existence of a federal crime, and thus FBI seeks to open a full investigation. Because this involves a SIM set forth by the Department of Justice memorandum dated February 5th of 2020, entitled Additional Requirements for the Opening of Certain Sensitive Investigations. Your authorization is required before the WFO may initiate this full investigation. They go on, the WFO seeks to open this SIM full investigation based on evidence that presents specific and articulable facts that are individuals, both know and unknown, engaged in conspiracy to obstruct Congress's certification of the Electoral College on January 6, 2020, including through the submission of fraudulent certificates elector votes to the United States government. Now, I wonder, folks, now we're not going to go into this, but this is just a continuation of the letter, laying out the fake elector case or whatever they call it. But I wonder if Mike Pence was in on this entire thing. I wonder what Mike Pence knew at the time. I wonder if Mike Pence was cooperating with any sort of investigation that was going on by the Department of Justice. I think it's worth the ask. I think it's time that Mike Pence gets a knock on the door to find out what he knew and what they were working on and what matters were so serious to them. So they conclude this letter, and I skipped the middle stuff because it's just all, Donald Trump was running fake electors, yada, 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 bunch of nonsense. So they conclude this letter with a review of apparent fraudulent electors, along with the aforementioned open source reporting, public statements made by individuals closely associated with President Trump's campaign, reasonably indicate that the existence of a federal crime is there. Accordingly, the FBI seeks to open a full investigation into whether the individuals conspired to obstruct justice by unlawfully impeding Congress's certification of the Electoral College vote on January 6th of 2020. Opening of this full investigation is governed by the DOJ memo. The DOJ memo requires written notification and consultation with the Assistant Attorney General and U.S. Attorney with the jurisdiction over the matter and written approval of the Attorney General through the Deputy Attorney General prior to opening any investigation of a declared candidate for president or vice president, a presidential campaign, senior presidential campaign staff, or member or advisor. It is asserted that the pool of potential subjects may include individuals who fall into one or more of these categories. So that was the premise of everybody else who they tried to get with President Trump. Walt Nauta, Dansky, every single person they went after tied to a President Trump was through this little loophole that they used to just group everyone together, sort of what they did with the January 6th political prisoners. Although the members of the 45th presidential administration are no longer in office, the DOJ memo states that the scope of this policy should be broadly constructed. So you could throw in whoever you want, of course, like they've done, to ensure that the department leadership is made aware of the opening of this matter could potentially be disruptive to the democratic process if publicly disclosed prior to the election, encouraging the FBI to err on the side of caution or seek approval if there could be any questions to whether such actions are required under this policy. So in other words, don't say a word. Don't let this out there that they're under investigation, because people may start to become skeptical that wrongdoing is happening. And they end the letter with, I recommend you approve the opening of this SIM full investigation. And then in handwriting on the bottom of it, Merrick, I recommend you approve. And it looks like an LM initial on 4/5 of 2022. LM, I'm assuming, would be Lisa Monaco. So they run this whole covert operation. Christopher Wray knew all about it. Christopher Wray, appointed by President Trump. And they knew exactly what was going on. Imagine that. Merrick Garland working with Christopher Wray. Biggest coup in the history of this country. And we just now find out about it. And it's due to the work of Chuck Grassley and Kash Patel and Ron Johnson. We're going to take a quick break, folks. We're live tonight here on The Great America Show, but let's get to a few of your shout-outs so I don't miss any before we go to break. G Wi-Fi, good afternoon from beautiful San Diego. Thank you, sir, for tuning in. As always, Kelly Song, thanks so much. We always appreciate you, Fall Girl. Appreciate you. Over on, I am Susie over on YouTube. So many people who need to be charged. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So many people who need to be charged in so little time. So let's get to it. And I think they're going to start moving expeditiously, which is why they're getting out ahead of the curve with these documents and things that are going to still yet to come. If the government is shut down, we shouldn't pay taxes. You ain't going to get an argument from me on that. I'm all for it. The former DOJ needs to be investigated and charged. Yeah, every single person who did bad needs to be investigated and charged, rightfully so. It was Chris Christie who recommended Wray to President Trump. You're absolutely right. It was Chris Christie. A lot of people don't know this story. I don't know if it's out there in the public domain, but it was told to me. I won't say by who, but a friend who was in the administration. And people don't realize what really happened between Christopher Wray and President Trump. It wasn't just his Trump derangement syndrome. So President Trump hires Christopher Wray to lead his transition. So how it works when you go in is the president goes in and he's got no staff. So you bring on advisors and so on and so forth to staff your administration. So President Trump brings in Chris Christie, big old Chris Christie. And he says, Chris, staff this thing up, hire people, and it includes recommending cabinet folks and all top people. And President Trump, if you remember, ran the first term around that he didn't want lobbyists. He hated lobbyists. He wanted nothing to do with them. I don't want them in my administration. Don't bring them anywhere near me. End of story, case closed. Okay, Chris Christie gets the memo. What does Chris Christie do? Chris Christie comes in and he starts staffing the place with lobbyists, has lobbyists flowing all over the place. And what I'm told is President Trump came in and looked at him and almost word for word said, "What the F, Chris? I told you I didn't want lobbyists. I just ran on draining the swamp. And you're going to staff my thing with swamp critters? Get your stuff and get the heck out of here." So that was where the original fallout happened between Christie and Trump that people don't realize. So we're going to take a quick break here, folks. On the other side of this quick break, we're going to get to so much more. There's so much more to get to. The government is still shut down. We've got reaction from Capitol Hill as for what's happening. Kash Patel announcing a massive sting operation today. A lot to get to. The Dems don't care about the American people. We're going to take that up on the other side of this quick break. If you're joining us on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. We're coming right back on The Great America Show. Please stay with us.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks, America!
Thanks, everybody, for staying with us here on The Great America Show. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave us a comment, do all that good stuff. Leave us a good review on Yelp if you can while you're at it. It all helps us get to more viewers out here and spread the show more than we're already spreading. So, as always, I appreciate, as I say, you guys tuning in to a live show, The Great America Show. So the Marxist Democrats, what do we talk about every night here? They hate America. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. They hate us. And I don't have to go through the list because I did it last night, and I probably spent 10 minutes going down the list of everything they've done to us, from the border invasion to inflation to whatever it is. But their latest tactic, I think, crosses the line. Because they're putting the lives of us American people at risk on various factions. So you're asking, what am I talking about? Well, today, folks, the Democrats blocked a Republican-led attempt to provide essential government workers with paychecks as we enter 23 days of this government shutdown. The Dems called the bill overly selective and incomplete. The bill was proposed by Senators Ron Johnson and Todd Young of Indiana, failed by a 54-45 vote, where 60 votes are needed to advance the bill to not have to worry about the filibuster. 3 Democrats voted for this bill. John Fetterman, who I have to give this man credit where credit is due. This man, we were told and we believed, was the biggest socialist to ever walk this planet. Well, that was before Zohan Mamdani came ahead. But we thought Fetterman was this total socialist. And he seems to be. Now, God bless him. The guy had a stroke, isn't, I don't think, fully recovered. But he understands where America is at right now. He's not one of these Trump deranged lunatics, at least right now, who will do anything they can to get the big bad orange man. So he was one of the 3 Dems. The other 2, if you want to take a quick guess, swing state, up for re-election, going to have a hard time. All right, I'll give you another guess. Bonnie Willis lives down there. Yeah, the 2 senators from Georgia, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, voting with the Republicans, of course, because they're going to have to answer to the voters in just a few months when they're going to go to the ballot box to vote, or down there to the election machines to vote. And the voters were going to wonder, well, why didn't you open the government? Why didn't you pay our essential workers? So this bill by Johnson, in addition to compensating federal employees and military personnel during this current shutdown, the bill would also extend relief to future instances where funding bills aren't in effect. So protecting these essential workers from a possible another government shutdown where their pay will be withheld if they do get this stopgap through, which will go through November 21st. So Johnson had pitched this bill as a long-term solution to try to help these people, and the Democrats want nothing to do with it. Now, essential federal employees have been asked to continue working. Ask yourself this question, folks. How many days would you go to work without getting paid? How many days would you be willing to go to work knowing you weren't getting a paycheck tomorrow? Now you say, oh, well, there's back pay on this. Okay. But what about the overwhelming majority of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck, who don't have millions of dollars saved up in the bank, who don't have millions of dollars invested in the stock market like these people on Capitol Hill do? So these folks, these federal employees, have been asked to continue to work since the government entered the shutdown on October 1st, which would have been their last paycheck. All of this after lawmakers failed to pass the spending legislation to begin on the fiscal year for 2026, which should have been October 1st. Republicans have advanced short-term spending extensions that would open the government, as I said, through November 21st. Democrats repeatedly rejecting that proposal, demanding that Congress first consider an extension to the expiring COVID-19 era supplementals funding for Obama healthcare insurance subsidies. We're in 2026, or we will be in 2 months. Same thing. We're in the fiscal year of 2026. And the Democrats still want COVID-19 era supplemental funding. What's next? Are they going to want us back in face masks? Are they going to demand we get vaccinated again? We're entering 2026. But what's holding them up? COVID-19 era supplemental funding for Obamacare health subsidies. Now, Republicans who maintain the health insurance subsidies are unrelated to the government's short-term funding needs have rejected those demands as out of hand. Democrats in the Senate voted 12 times to defeat the stopgap bill. Now, it doesn't appear that there's any end in sight. that these Marxist Dems are going to say, okay, we're going to stop playing games with the lives of the American people. We're going to stop playing games with our essential workers. The thing that makes me happy about this all, and nothing makes me happy about it, but in theory, is that Chuck Schumer, this idiot, is going to go down with this burning ship of horse manure. Instead of being a man with principle and saying, screw you, I'm not going full Marxist. Primary me if you want. And then running on his record and looking at New Yorkers and saying, listen, they wanted me to go full Marxist. They wanted me to play games with your money. And I refuse to do it. No, it's because Chuck Schumer doesn't have any intestinal fortitude. I'll never forget sitting next to him on a plane from Paris. Somehow he and his wife and his daughter were sitting right next to me in first class. I booked the flight with miles, so it was free for me. But I looked up how much the flight cost, and it was like $18,000 a seat. I'd love to know how Chuck Schumer was making $200,000 a year. Could afford to spend near $60,000 to be sitting in first class back from Paris. But the thing, that was only the little thing that weirded me out about him. I watched him get up with no shoes and socks on. He was literally right next to me. I got a picture somewhere. Got up and go to the bathroom in an airplane with no shoes or socks on. That I thought was the most absurd thing in the world. We then got off the plane and I proceeded to troll him a little bit because it was at the time of right after Trump won, before he took office. I think it was like maybe December of 2016. And he was getting very upset. Slob. So when is he going to stand up for himself? Or is he going to continue? Is he going to run for re-election and continue to be bullied by the likes of AOC or Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar or Zohar Mamdani? Or is he going to step up and be a man? I think it tells you all you need to know about Chuck Schumer. The only thing he cares about is saving his bacon and saving his seat. But it doesn't matter because he's in the middle here. They're still going to primary him. So now he can't run on the side of being a Marxist because they're going to come from the left and they're going to say, you know, we're further left than you, so you got to go. And he can't run on the side of being a centrist because he's already gone on now for too long. So Chuck Schumer essentially right now is committing political suicide. He's in the middle of an issue. And he's going to lose. President Trump in a meeting this afternoon says the Democrats have gone totally crazy.
I think the Democrats have gone totally crazy. And you don't know what they're going to do because they don't care about the people. They don't. I really think they have no leadership. They have a lot of very low IQ people. Jasmine Crockett is a low IQ person. A lot of them are. I don't want to insult too many of them, but a lot of them are. They have no rudder. I don't think they know what they're doing right now. You know, they've never done this before. They always agreed to go and, you know, called an extension. Let's do an extension and talk. Even today, look at what happened today. They don't want to pay the people that have worked. And, you know, this was supposed to be this was a test. And they wouldn't pay the people that have been working. They said, no, we don't want to pay them. This is all the Democrats. Now, all we need is 5 Democrats. And I know a lot of Democrats that are saying they're more than 5. Probably not that many more than 5, but they're more than 5. And all we need is like 5 Democrat votes so we open our country again. Sad, though, we have the greatest economy in our history. We have the highest stock market. All these things are rocking. We will have by the end of my first year more than $20 trillion of investment. The all-time record is $3 trillion. I think it's China. We're going to have $20 or $21 trillion. We've never had anything like it coming in because of tariffs. The money pouring into our country, the plants that are opening, AI, automobiles, everything. And the Democrats want to close our country. They're really, you know, they say deranged. They suffer. I guess it's Trump derangement syndrome, which I think is going down now as an official condition by the doctors. I think they get paid extra money if they handle it because it's more difficult to handle than a normal mental disease. But you know what? They really should approve an extension, get the country back to work, get the people paid. And, it's very simple. You just don't know what's going on. There's something wrong with them. It's sad, actually.
Something wrong with them, I think, is putting it far too kind. They're deranged. The Trump derangement syndrome is real. I think it's clinical for some of these people. Stephen Miller, who was at that meeting with him, says America was set to die before President Trump won that election.
Let me just say, Mr. President, that this country was going to die without you. This country was going to actually die without you. That's what we were facing in 2024. We've been invaded for 4 years. Our communities were sinking. Our public safety had gone to zero. Cartels were running entire communities. Sex trafficking, child trafficking, labor trafficking was out of control. Overdoses were out of control. The cartels were claiming more and more territory. City services were buckling. This was a country on the verge of dying, and you alone saved it. And when you stepped forward originally in 2016, you started the movement to make America great again, and that means make America great again in every way, and that means safety and prosperity and peace and freedom from cartels and crime and gangs. And your vision and your leadership in declaring war on the drug cartels is the single most successful public safety initiative in American history. And I need the media to understand what President Trump has done. People have been talking about drug cartels for longer than I've been alive. And everyone has just taken for granted that they can't be touched or stopped. They're too big, they're too powerful, they're too evil, they're too murderous. They can operate with impunity. And in just 9 months, President Trump is the only American leader, not just in our lifetimes, but ever, to actually take the fight to the drug cartels, to actually seek their eradication. And it is happening. And so while the Democrats are shutting the government down and fighting for free health care for illegal aliens, look at what President Trump has assembled here. He's assembled a team under his vision, direction, and leadership that is saving hundreds of thousands of lives. Hundreds of thousands of lives. And only President Trump could have done this. And I will say one last thing, which is that his courage has been an inspiration to everyone else in this room. There are people in this room, I'm looking at, for example, at Todd Lyons, who have been relentlessly doxxed and harassed and threatened. But when they see President Trump's courage, what he's been through for 10 years to save America, when they came after his family, his businesses, his safety, his freedom, everyone at this table knows we can give whatever it takes to get the mission done. So President Trump, thank you for your leadership, your boldness, your courage, and your vision. We're honored to serve underneath you.
I think he's absolutely right. America was certainly dying before President Trump. Thanks be to God that he won that election. We're taking one more quick break here, folks. When we return, much more to get to. We're going to get reaction from Capitol Hill on the shutdown from Mike Johnson and other folks in the cabinet. And we're going to tell you about a new bust that Kash Patel did today. Some familiar names you might know. We're coming right back on the Great America Show. Please stay with us. We're coming right back. I promise.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support, and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented MyPillow. MyPillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night, and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King MyPillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic MyPillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Thanks, everybody, for staying with us here on the Great America Show. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. If you're joining us on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, please. We really appreciate it. Every follow, every like helps us out. So Mike Johnson's been holding a press conference, and I got to say, he's doing a really decent job. this time around. I think he's gotten his rear end in gear, and he's doing a fairly decent job. He's been holding a press conference each and every morning, calling out the Marxist Dems, as he should, because the Republicans are winning on messaging. There's no doubt about it. Take a listen.
The reason that my colleagues and I have come in here every morning now during this painful Schumer shutdown is because we have to share the facts and we have to share the simple truth with the American people. And why is that? Because the Democrats are working overtime to try to hide those facts and to try to distract from the very simple truth here. They want you to forget that just 5 Senate Democrats could reopen the government today. All we need is 5 of them. They try to pretend that their counter-proposal deal doesn't reinstate free health care for illegal aliens, $200 billion of taxpayer funds. They try to pretend that their counter-proposal would not send billions of dollars in wasteful spending for social projects in foreign countries overseas. They don't want you to look at the facts. They don't want you to look at the paperwork that they themselves filed as the counter-proposal. And they refuse to admit that this entire shutdown is one big political game to satisfy the radical Marxist base of their party. But that is exactly what is going on. And I want to be absolutely clear about this. Democrats would not have shut the government down this time if their political careers did not depend on it. And that is not some Republican talking point. That is the objective truth. If it wasn't already abundantly clear, the number 2 Democrat in the House yesterday openly admitted to that fact. Catherine Clark is the House Democrat whip. She works right under Hakeem Jeffries as the number 1 Democrat, and she was in an interview and she said to one of your colleagues sitting here on the front row, quote, "Of course there will be families that are going to suffer, but this is one of the few leverage times we have," unquote. It's shocking to hear them say that out loud. By her own admission, she knows that the American people are suffering. Democrats know that millions of federal workers are desperate for their paychecks. They know that thousands of flights have been delayed. They know that SNAP benefits and nutrition assistance for women, infants, and children are in jeopardy for millions of American families. And yet, they don't seem to care. But you know what? Take heart, America. Take heart. Because all your suffering is for a good cause. It's for the Democrats' political leverage. That's what the number 2 Democrat said here yesterday. It is utterly shameful. The obvious truth is that only a Democrat could get away with saying such abhorrent things without the media batting its eye. I guarantee you, if the tables were turned, if the Republicans were the ones holding the country hostage and openly admitting to it, it would be absolutely explosive. It would be wall-to-wall coverage, and everybody in this room knows that. Every single mainstream media outlet, every newspaper in America, every single day would have that on the top fold as the big headline. But of course, that's not what's happening right now. Coverage of all this has been sporadic and almost every time spun to try to somehow favor the Democrats who have put us in this mess. Democrats own this. They've said so themselves, and you just have to listen to their own words. Don't listen to us. Chuck Schumer himself said infamously, "Every day of the shutdown gets better for us," meaning the Democrats. And then you had the Democrat whip here say yesterday, openly admitted, they're holding the country hostage for their political leverage. They're perfectly fine with that. They're perfectly okay with real pain being felt by real Americans as long as it helps their political agenda as they see it, as long as they can force $1.5 trillion new dollars in spending on America and get illegal aliens back on health care funded by U.S. citizens. That's their counter-proposal. And largely, so many in the media are turning a blind eye to that.
You heard Speaker Mike Johnson, I said, is winning the messaging battle on this entire thing. The Democrats are just in implosion mode on their way down to the Titanic. Now, the scary part about it all is that where are the ones who are at risk of all this? The holidays are coming up. Air travel has been terrible to begin with to start this year. I mean, we've seen some scary things happen with airliners and air traffic controllers and DEI taking over that. But air traffic controllers are tired of this. Department of Transportation head Sean Duffy says he meets with them all, and they're furious with the Democrats.
But I do want to talk about air traffic controllers for a moment, because I think this is incredibly important. They're angry. I've gone to a number of different towers over the course of the last week to 10 days. They're frustrated. They're frustrated that the Congress is focused, at least in the Senate, on paying for health care benefits for illegals as opposed to paying their paychecks for the great work that they provide to the American people. That makes them angry. You've seen, as the Speaker mentioned, across the national airspace, we see there's certain centers or TRACONs or towers where we'll see a lower staffing. When we have lower staffing, what happens is you'll see delays or cancellations. But it's not one tower, it's not one TRACON, it's not one center, it's maybe one center one day, it's a TRACON another day, it's kind of moving throughout the national airspace. But it's causing disruptions.
They don't care. You know why? Because if a plane crashes or something happens, who can you blame? Well, Donald Trump, because he's the president of the United States, right? At least that's the way they look at it, because they're sick people. They're very, very sick people. Before we wrap up, folks, FBI Director Kash Patel this afternoon announcing the arrest of more than 30 people across 11 states, including for you basketball fans. And I sat there and watched, a huge basketball fan, a massive Knicks fan, season tickets to them. Try not to ever miss a game, but I missed last night's. And I'm sitting there last night watching the Portland Trailblazers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and head coach Chauncey Billups, former player, and Miami Heat player Terry Rozier were part of this massive takedown, massive sports gambling ring, which included a poker scheme and sports rigging. Take a listen to FBI Director Kash Patel today announcing the bust.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
Now, the part of the scheme, or the poker scheme, I guess they were running a poker game, used, this is like 25th century technology, X-ray tables to read the poker card, the face of the cards as the cards were face down on the table, wireless devices and chip tray analyzers, all tied, as you heard Kash Patel say, to the Italian mafia, La Cosa Nostra. He says they use self-shuffling card machines that have been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player on the table had the best hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. So cheating, stealing, lying. Defendants use other technologies, cheating technologies, they say, is the poker tray analyzers. Also a secret camera that was hidden inside the tray. Special contact lenses or glasses that could be used to read pre-marked cards and the X-ray table. As I said, the Bonanno, Gambino, Lucchese, Genovese crime families all involved in this. Kash Patel laid out the charges as well.
The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Those of us who sports bet, if you don't, you're lucky. If you do, you're probably not so lucky because the odds are stacked against you. As I've long suspected, there's probably some sort of rigging happening in sports, and we find out today, I think, what we already knew. Let's get to some more of your questions, folks, before we wrap up here. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning into a live show of the Great America Show. It's always a delight to have your questions, and it's always a delight to have you with us, as I tell you often here. From Fall Girl, this show is jam-packed with info from the start. I appreciate it. I always try to get to it. Nobody's more critical of me than myself, so I appreciate that. Just remember that Fetterman was as far left as it comes, but moved the party further. Yeah, that's pretty insane to see that this is the new Fetterman. It would be great to see the Trump administration stop salary payments to Schumer and Jeffries until they come to their senses and stop this nonsense GY-fi. I'm afraid to tell you there, my friend, it won't matter. They have so much money in stocks and schemes and gold bars probably that it make that $200,000 salary makes no difference to them. They can stop it for a year. It wouldn't make a difference. Go ask Nancy Pelosi, who travels 12 hours a week to go back and forth from California to D.C. for $174,000 a year. Do we really believe that's true? We really believe she's doing it because she likes the job? I don't think so. Shut off their pay and their health care and close their offices and drop any pay for their aides. They don't care either. Strafer, they care about themselves. I don't think you guys realize the scope of this thing. These people are truly narcissistic scum. There's no nice way to put it. I know them. As you guys have noticed, I really don't have many politicians on the show anymore. Lou Dobbs hated having politicians on the show, and I've followed in suit with him. I mean, there's maybe 5 or 6 I can count on my hand that I like, that I know. Jim Jordan, James Comer, Tim Burchett, Mike Hirodopoulos, a new freshman congressman down in Florida. I can't stand these people. Republicans and Democrats. Fetterman is great. Now they want him out of the Democratic Party. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. He is a piece of crap. He's a traitor, never had a job and been in politics so long. The band thinks that he's above the rest. He's not any better than anybody else. He's not been abided by the Constitution and the law. Completely forgotten the work he's there for, along with others. I think he's talking about, that's Mike over on Facebook. I think he's talking about Chuck Schumer. Yeah, he never did have a real job. He's just been a bootlicker his entire life. You guys famously heard Donald Trump go out in the campaign speech and berate him and say, he used to kiss my rear end. Obamacare costs us too much. It's always been a failed policy. If you didn't sign up, you got fined $500. All that money goes to insurance companies that charge us more money. Yeah, Susie over on YouTube, you're absolutely right. The thing was a scam. It was like, sign up for Obamacare, but if you don't sign up because you can't afford it, we're going to fine you anyway. And I think the fine was actually up to like $1,200, which was more expensive than the actual insurance. I mean, think about who made that one up. What numbskull. Trump derangement syndrome is real. Very, very real. And there should be health care for it because these people are sick. Cartels are huge here in Seattle. Susie over on YouTube. Yeah, they're huge everywhere. I've been to Seattle, I think, once or twice in my life, flying back from Asia. And I'll never forget, I watched a guy outside of the big famous fish market outside of a Starbucks overdosing. And the paramedics were like just unfazed about it because I guess it happens every day. It's truly, truly sad. Poor Speaker Johnson, he's turning gray before our eyes. Yeah. It ain't an easy job. It really ain't an easy job, but I'd have no interest in doing it. That's what I've got to say. Democrats don't care about America. You are correct. They hate America. Just the truth of the matter. Want to bet it's going on in the NFL as well? Over on Rumble. Yeah, I think it's going on everywhere. You look at some of them. I'm a big sports guy. I love football, and I'm a massive basketball fan. And you watch some of the calls that happen in the course of a game or lack thereof calls. I mean, all you got to do is watch like a Kansas City Chiefs game and watch Patrick Mahomes. The guy gets any penalty he wants. It's crazy. They beg for a flag, and then boom, the flag comes. I've never seen that in my life. But if you're a player or you're a coach and you speak out against it, you get fined. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Lynn over on YouTube, God bless you, and God bless all the viewers as well. Pete Rose is innocent. He never bet on baseball. I don't know if that's true. I thought he bet on himself. Even then, who cares? I mean, if you're betting for yourself to hit goals, you can't really like rig against yourself if you're betting for yourself. I mean, that was one of the dumbest things they knocked Pete Rose for, who I think should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I haven't watched any sports since they took a knee for BLM. Yeah, God bless you for that. I wish I was as obedient as you. Sports is the only thing I watch on television. I don't watch movies. I don't watch television really at all. So sports is my only sanity after a long, hard day of work. Sports and a glass of bourbon and a cigar. Folks, that's all for us tonight here on The Great America Show. I appreciate you guys joining us for this live episode of The Great America Show. As always, we're going to be back here tomorrow for The Great America Show. I think we've got Roger Stone on the show tomorrow. Don't be mad at me if I'm wrong, but I think we've got Roger on the show tomorrow. So always a good one with him. That's all for us tonight, folks. Football is on tonight, speaking of sports, and you've got NBA on. So get your sports bets in. And enjoy the games. We'll see you back here tomorrow, folks, for The Great America Show. Truth, justice, and the American way, as always, here on The Great America Show. We'll see you back here. Same time, same place. Until then, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you're on Rumble or YouTube. Every follow, every like, every subscription, every comment helps us get more noticed, whether on Rumble or YouTube. So please be sure to do that. We truly, truly appreciate it as you're helping us spread the word here on The Great America Show. So we'll see you back here tomorrow, folks. Truth, justice, and the American way at the forefront. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America. And may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a terrific night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.